never mind, erase the door. Cause if it don't make dollars, then it don't make sense, so holler back, of course. And should a nigga even drop a crew? When I drop your crew, I ain't popping through, just passing by. No need to ask if I can do the damn thing, don't know ask mine. I laugh about it in the sky so high, so high. Recognizing I'm way past the block, blast the Glock, no mass. Get it in, I stutter. Get it in. Come and see the G-Lock. Get it in, I stutter. Get it in. Come and see the G-Lock. Whoa, too much info. No, you can't get.
Lesson on the beat. Sway. Banger. I'm amped up for this tango. Now you see where that chain go. Chain gang off that mainframe for my main thing like Django. Bout a nigga like Shango. Old school with that can't go. Right hand on my buckle, bitch. Left hand, hang low. Whip part, but it swang though. Do you know what that 6P do? Just fly up like a fool in the truck and you lanes can't figure how the pain bleed through. Wave on the track like a 6C do. Chip look mean and the drip see through. I'ma get mad on this beat till you niggas running for your van at the feet. Talking to your man when you see him in the street. I ain't no less, had to bless. Play so hard you can feel it in your chest. Make it what it do, now your crew wanna ask what's next. I'ma break it down.
We're back.
Are you ready for this?
DMV, what is good? What's going on? It is your boy Lesson to my right, my boy Manny. It's DMVCS, DMV Combat Systems, and you are back in the clinch.
In the clutch.
Did you guys miss us while we were gone? I hope you did. Yo, I know I missed being here for a little while.
I think they
man.
did. I think our viewers and our listeners out there really missed us while we were gone.
Yeah, now if you're watching here on listenvisionlive.com, which we're here, of course, we're stateside in the WLVS studios in Washington, D.C., in our nation's capital, worldwide on listenvisionlive.com. And if you're looking right now, you see me with some shades on, it's because your boy is in this post-Florida swag. Yes, we were gone.
Oh, you have
for the
new
last,
swag.
Yeah, we were gone the last 2 weeks, man, and I went down to South Florida for a family wedding.
I see it, man. You brought back some new
good
swag.
Family times. It's sunshine and beautiful weather. Beautiful day in the DMV here too. Hopefully, it's beautiful wherever you are. And of course, we want to thank you for coming and joining back with us again as we're back on the air here on WLVS. DMVCS in the clinch.
And like the fight fans heard last night, we are live
and in effect right here. It's good to be back, man. I have to say that. Yo, of course, shout out to the man behind the wheels of steel, guarding and also directing the spaceship. That's DJ Jordan K. He puts it on every Sunday night for us and everybody from these last few weeks here at WLVS, man. Big shout out to the man running the spaceship for us. But we got an action-packed show because it was an action-packed weekend in the world.
Hell yeah, it was.
In combat sports. We are going to look back at UFC 172, Jones versus Teixeira. Big event out in Baltimore, just north of us.
Shout out to Be More.
In the Charm City. Big weekend there and a very exciting card. We want to get into that later. Of course, we're going to talk back and talk to our good friend, Mike Drahota. He is the chief editor of LowKickMMA.com and also a contributor on MMAmania.com, one of the SB Nation family of blogs. And, of course, we're going to recap all MMA news, rumors, and event recaps. And, boy, a lot went down the last 2 weeks, and we got a lot to get to. So
yes, we do.
We just, of course, make sure you guys are following us on Twitter. That's at DMVCS. And then following us on Instagram at DMVCS2.
De Marquitos.
There you go. Facebook, DMVCS Radio. And on, of course, you can email us, godmvcs@gmail.com. You can also find us on YouTube, where we have every single one of our episodes here on our YouTube channel. That's under DMV Combat SYS, SYS. So, of course, like we always do, we get into the news.
So what is going on in the news, Lesson?
And I'll tell you what's going on, Manny. First, news item. UFC, now we know there's a big bout coming up from the light heavyweight trail in the division between John Jones and a rematch with Alexander Gustafsson.
It has to happen. That was the fight of the year last year. I still want my round 6.
And now they're saying that they may want Jones Gustafsson in Sweden while they're on schedule. Now, they are scheduled to be in Sweden later on this week, but this is, of course, as most of our news items, courtesy of MMAJunkie.com. The UFC will wait for light heavyweight champ John Jones to heal up from his 7th title defense at UFC 172, but the promotion has an idea of where it might like to stage his 8th attempt, which is confirmed as opposite of Alexander Gustafsson. Now, UFC President Dana White said on Saturday that a stadium show in Stockholm is an ideal place to hold the Jones rematch with Gustafsson, and if the promotion does hold an event there, he said it will take place at the same time as a domestic pay-per-view. Now, at that time there, of course, in Sweden, as Dana said, it's light 24 hours a day, or it's dark for an hour or something like that. So they go at like 4 o'clock in the morning. Not ideal for the U.S. viewers. Now, they said that this past July, the Tele2 Arena opened up in Stockholm. It holds up to 45,000 people for concerts and around 30,000 for sporting events. Now, Gustafsson made a previous trip to Sweden as a headliner and took place in Stockholm's Globe Arena, and it holds up to 16,000 people. He got his rematch with John Jones this past month with a dominant second-round TKO of Jimmy Manuwa. That was in London.
Brutalization is more of the term.
And, of course, Gustafsson is a native of Sweden and a popular star, and it would make for a very big event in Sweden for the UFC going there for an event, and especially for a title fight between Jones and Gus. So would it be big for the UFC to go to Sweden, and a big lift? We've seen many pay-per-views in Brazil and
the O2 Arena out
in London, and see how popular MMA is there, and many fighters.
When they had the nostalgia night for Pride, because remember we had UFC Japan again.
Yes, of course. So it would be a good idea if they can make it happen. I don't know about the 4 o'clock time zone.
I'm still underneath the covers and the pillows at that time.
Exactly. So Dennis Siver, results came up that he tested positive after his last bout, and it is shown that he has tested positive for human chorionic gonadotropin, or HCG, at UFC 168, and he continued to blame his new trainer as a result of that. But after hearing his testimony at the hearing, the Nevada State Athletic Commission overturned his win over Manny Gamburian and changed it to a no contest. They've suspended him for 9 months, and additionally, he has a fine of $19,800. That's 30% of his purse. He'll also need to submit a clean urine sample before the commission will license him again.
Absolutely, because something like that is you can't be doing that.
Now, of course, we've heard this kind of talk before.
Yes.
His Cyber said he didn't intend to use the drug as a performance enhancer, and instead he used it to aid his weight cut. Now, we've heard this before from a lot of people that have used performance.
It always comes back to that, doesn't it? It was something my trainer did.
Oh, I was using it to lose weight.
Or, the towel boy at my gym slipped something in my water while between rounds. It's like we always hear this story out of some fighter who got caught with his hand in the cookie jar because he tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs.
I mean, and this is a 9-month suspension. And 30% of his purse from the fight that night, you get the ruling overturned and the result overturned to a no contest. And now he's going to have to piss clean to get before he can get a license to fight there.
So basically, him and Vitor Belfort are in the same book.
Exactly, but he's not undergoing TRT. He is taking this HCG, which I have not heard much about it on this level. But I'm sure it is a lot more prevalent than we think it is. There's a lot of other drugs that are out there.
Well, yeah, I mean, because it's a human growth hormone that continues to develop muscle growth after you're already built. So again, you can put it in the same line as TRT, even though TRT is testosterone. What does testosterone do to your muscles? It makes them expand. Right.
Well, and then, of course, he got in further trouble when he didn't disclose HCG on his pre-fight paperwork. So, again, if it's something that you don't really think is wrong, then why are you trying to hide it?
Yeah,
or you didn't think it was that important. I mean, come on. I don't know. A drug like that and you didn't think it was that important? Like, come on, man.
Well, yeah, because all the fighters get tested the same way.
So, moving on, and Dennis is going to have 9 months and about $20,000 to thank for his bout with HCG. But in other news, lightweights Miles Jury and Abel Trujillo will have now joined the UFC Fight Night 44 event. It will take place June 28th in the San Antonio AT&T Center. There are no broadcast plans have been announced, but it's likely to be a combination between Fox Sports 1 and UFC Fight Pass. Jury and Trujillo is likely to be part of the main card. Now, Miles Jury is a guy we talked about the last time we had a pay-per-view here.
Again, I stand. Apologies. Shout out to Miles Jury. I am a fan, and I can't wait to see this kid to get back inside the cage.
Yeah, his controlling and really domination of Diego Sanchez in the cage the last time really opened some eyes to a lot of people in the sport that didn't know that he was undefeated and really didn't give credence to his undefeated run up to that point.
I just remember him being on The Ultimate Fighter. That was it.
Yeah, now he'll be. He now hits faces Trujillo, who can hit hard. Has some power behind him. He's looking for his third straight victory following he had knockout wins over Roger Bowling and Jamie Varner. Mm-hmm. The last fight against Jamie Varner gave him the fight of the night and knockout of the night honors. gave him a total of $125,000, and he now has 8 stoppages, 5 knockouts, and 13 submissions, and 12 career wins. And the rest of the card is shaping up to be as such: Cub Swanson versus Jeremy Stevens, Kelvin Gastelum versus Nicholas Musoki, Miles Jury versus Abel Trujillo, Carlos Diego Ferreira versus Colton Smith, and a lot of different other names on that, as well as Andrew Craig versus Cesar Ferreira. So that's going to be the UFC Fight Night, and on June 28th in San Antonio, UFC Fight Night 44. Miles Jury a chance to again make an impression against an MMA veteran, a kid who's only 25 years old, but is already starting to make a lot of impressions in mixed martial arts so far. Yeah,
you might say that he's following the footsteps of our still reigning defending champion, John Bones Jones.
Yeah. So we'll see what he can do in the UFC Fight Night 44 coming up in San Antonio. So now, Ryan Bader, former Ultimate Fighter winner, now is booked for UFC 174 to take on Rafael Cavalcante, and it's been added to that card at UFC 174. It's going to take place in the Rogers Arena in Vancouver, British Columbia in Canada. The main card, of course, will be a pay-per-view and prelims on Fox Sports 1. Bader's ranked number 10 in the USA Today MMA light heavyweight rankings, recently rebounded from a 1-2 run with a decision victory over Anthony Parash at UFC Fight Night 33. Ryan Bader, 30 years old, first joined the UFC, won Ultimate Fighter 8, has added some solid striking skills to his wrestling base in recent years, and now holds 7 knockouts and 16 career wins. Now, that should come in handy against Cavalcante. He has some powers as well. Recently picked up a submission win due to strikes over Igor Pogodraic at UFC Fight Night 32. He's a Strikeforce and Elite XC vet, has earned every career victory by way of strikes, including 7 in the first round. So should be a fun fight to watch between Bader and Cavalcante. Other bouts on the card: Demetrius Johnson taking Mighty Mouse taking on Ali Kanata for the flyweight title. Roy McDonald taking on Tyron Woodley.
T-Wood.
So this is with a fight, I think, 2 fighters we talked about a lot during the last UFC pay-per-view, and how Roy was impressive in his win over Damian Maia and Tyron Woodley against Carlos Condit.
Oh, absolutely. But again, you cannot prepare for the power that T-Wood packs.
That's right. And but Roy has definitely proved something to me. That and when any type of way of mixed martial arts you want to fight, he's willing to take it there.
Oh, absolutely.
So but it's going to be something big again for him to come up. Other bouts on that fight: DC's own Mike Easton taking on Yves Jabouin, and he'll be on that UFC Fight Night or UFC 174 fight card as well. So we'll be looking forward to seeing him back in action again. He's had a couple of a rough run of 2 straight losses. And hopefully he can pick it back up. But that's our news for the week. Again, it's been a long week. And just initial impressions. We're going to get into the card in depth. We're going to, of course, talk to our buddy Mike Drahota from lowkickmma.com to talk about UFC 172. But your initial impressions and maybe the thing that maybe impressed you last night the most that you saw.
It was the fact that Jones came out and beat Glover Teixeira at his own game. Mm-hmm. He was just like, I heard about your camp. I heard what Hackelman and Chuck Liddell disrespected me in the Q&A and going on Fox Sports 1 and Fox Sports UFC Tonight talking about how I was going to be scared to get in the clinch with him. He clinched with him.
Yeah.
And he went to work on him viciously.
Yeah, I think the thing that I was most impressed with the main event was concerned more so than anything else was the fact that whatever your game is, John Jones finds a way to be able to beat you.
Absolutely.
At it. And he proved that again last night. It was a completely lopsided fight.
Absolutely.
Completely lopsided fight. I mean, we all knew what the judge's decision was even before, not even long before the horn sounded and the 5th round was over with. It was 5-0. He finds a way to be able to get you at your game and beat you at it, and then takes away what you do best. From whether it was Rampage with his striking, mm-hmm. whether it was Rashad with his wrestling, mm-hmm. Alexander Gustafsson came and gave him the toughest fight of his career, and he found a way to
be
win. Able to use his tools, those elbows, the spinning back elbows, the elbows on the clinch, knee, the leg kicks, the oblique kicks, which we saw last night with
Lots
Robert
of
Teixeira. Lots of them last night.
Rib kick that broke Vitor's ribs. I mean, the short elbow jabs that he used to rip Teixeira's eyebrow open.
Yeah.
To the point where it was hanging open like that, and I was just like, this can't be life right now. You just stop the fight. Just stop it.
I mean, he was impressive last night, and of course, the return last night. And we're going to get into this much later with our friend Mike Drahota from lowkickmma.com. The return of Anthony Rumble Johnson to the UFC. And Rumble last night was very impressive, and taking out a mouthy Phil Davis.
Phil Davis going to be reached for comment.
Who was very mouthy.
As he now.
And not just towards Anthony Johnson, but really just kind of disregarding Rumble and talking trash about the champ John Jones.
Yeah, and the funny thing, when I watched the post-fight press conference, what did John Jones do after he got his drug test done and came out there and said, oh, hey, Rumble, what's up? Good work out there.
Yeah.
I guess Phil won't be joining us, huh?
And Rumble back at 205, and like I said, and we'll talk a lot about this later, but Rumble to me looked good at 205.
Oh, absolutely. He's a monster.
His conditioning looked good. He was active. Anything that Phil tried to do to try to bring the fight to the ground, it was not going there. So props to Rumble, man. He showed out in a lot of very, very impressive performances last night. Like you said, you can with a UFC card, it can kind of go back and forth. Sometimes it can be good, and sometimes it can be a bit boring. And last night's card was not, as you said in your words, was not a boring card.
Not a boring card at all. I mean, from the start of the prelims that were streaming on Facebook and Fight Pass, I was on my edge of my seat, just locked in, trying to catch in all this action.
Yeah, the prelims were exciting, and then we'll talk about one of those particular knockouts two of them actually,
that we saw.
Good Lord. That to me,
Did Charlie Brenneman wake up yet? If you can, just email the show and let me know that he wake up yet.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Charlie Brenneman, his knockout by the hands of Danny Castillo, and also Carl Beal also with a spectacular flying knee for a knockout.
I don't know whether to call him Sagat or call him Joe Higashi from Fatal Fury, because that knee was brutal.
But, Joe, we want to thank you guys again. Of course, this is DMVCS in the Clinch. You are on WLVS Radio on ListenVisionLive.com. Shout out to everybody out there listening to us worldwide. Of course, you guys can follow us on Twitter at DMVCS on Twitter, at DMVCS2 on Instagram, Facebook, DMVCS Radio, YouTube, DMVCS Combat Sys, that's SYS. And, of course, you can email us, godmvcs@gmail.com. Yo, I just came back from Florida. You guys, any listeners out there in Florida, you got any gyms, and anywhere actually out there worldwide, you got any gyms, any combat training academies, karate, taekwondo, judo, mixed martial arts, any type of a gym out there you want to get a shout out, email us at godmvcs@gmail.com. Link us to your social media links or your websites if you have them. We'll give you a shout out right here. Of course, we've heard from camps in Canada and Hawaii. We'd like to hear from your camp coming up soon. But, we're back here. It's good to be back. We're going to talk UFC 172 coming up with Low Kick MMA chief editor Mike Drahota, also contributor of MMA Mania on SB Nation. So we will be back with that and talk more UFC 172 with Mike to see what he thinks about the card. Of course, make sure you guys are following us on all our social media links. We'll be right back. We're going to take a break, and we will be back within the Clinch with Mike Drahota. Right back.
Right back.
Welcome back on WLVS Radio, ListenVisionLive.com. You are back with DMVCS in the Clinch.
In the Clinch.
Your boy Lesson, of course, right here. To my right, it's Manny Z. We do this every Sunday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and you can apply the difference wherever you are. Again, shout out to everybody there listening to us. You know where to follow us at Twitter, or at DMVCS on Twitter, at DMVCS2 on Instagram, Facebook, DMVCS Radio. So, busy night last night at UFC 172 in Baltimore, Maryland, the Charm City. And, of course, we are honored to be joined once again by the chief editor of LowKickMMA.com and an editor at MMAmania.com on the SB Nation family of blogs. He is Mike Drahota. Mike, what's up, buddy? Mike? Hey, Mike, you there?
Brian.
Yeah. Okay, there you go.
Guys.
We got you. Hey, you hear us loud and clear?
I can hear you good. I'm right here. I'm ready to go.
All right, great, man, great.
All right, brother.
So, man, UFC 172 last night. So, from the prelims, this was a card that was jumping from the very start. We just talked about Danny Castillo's highlight knockout of Charlie Brenneman, which I still trying to find a clip of last night. I just see still pictures of Brenneman being slumped almost to the canvas, unconscious. But the main event last night with John Jones and Glover Teixeira, just your thoughts on what you saw last night from the champ, once again adding yet another notch to his belt and really neutralizing a guy like Glover, who people consider to be even more of a dangerous threat than Alexander Gustafsson.
Like you guys touched on in the intro, I think that Jones just kind of showed that he's truly maybe the best, most well-rounded mixed martial artist we've ever seen in the sport.
Yes.
And I think that, like you said, Brian, he finds a way to at your best skills, okay?
Yeah.
Willing to clinch with Teixeira. He was willing to beat him up with those elbows like you touched on, Manny. He was, willing to throw a real high variety of kicks and dare Teixeira to plod forward and try to nail him with that big shot. And as we've seen in the past against Rampage, you're just not going to hit Jones with that big shot.
No.
And I think he really responded to all his haters that thought his aura of invincibility was gone after Gustafsson, and came back with just a dynamic, surgically precise performance against Teixeira, and ultimately cements himself as the clear number one pound-for-pound fighter in the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And, there were a lot of people, I think not unlike what he did to Rampage, because we all know Rampage has the knockout power, and we know that Glover has the knockout power, also is a BJJ specialist. He just takes away what you do best. And this was just another notch on the belt once again, because, again, the haters were out there. You mentioned that. They were doing polls on Fox Sports 1 on the pre-fight show that a lot of the viewing public thought that this was, and these are MMA savvy fans we're talking about, thought that Glover had a legit chance to dethrone the champ and take the strap from him. But as we saw on Saturday night, once again, what John Jones does, as you said, well-rounded with the strikes, with the elbows, the oblique kicks, the leg kicks, really neutralizing a guy that has good knockout power and that can take the fight to the ground and take control on the ground, but really just controlling it from the outset by his unique skills that we haven't seen before.
Without a doubt, and I think that, like you say, just finding that way to win, Jones could have came out and just let all the hype get to him. He's remained mentally tough fighting just along with a who's who of light heavyweight talent throughout his run as champion.
Yes.
And, I think there's a new wave of light heavyweight contenders that maybe don't have the names that he beat in 2011 when he beat 4 former champs, but I think they're actually more talented, more skilled fighters at the time that Bones is actually fighting them.
Yeah.
And Gustafsson is obviously part of that wave, maybe at the forefront of that wave. But Teixeira wasn't far behind.
Yeah.
No,
and
he wasn't.
No,
I think that he was dangerous, and like you touched on just a second ago, Brian, on the Fox Sports pre-show vote, I saw that 65% of the public was giving Teixeira the nod. And that's insane against the number one pound-for-pound guy.
Yeah, and
right?
he's
65 to 35.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was something else. But again, he just showed what he does and what he does best. And he's a guy that we haven't seen before. I was telling Manny before the show, and he joked and said, what do you think this is, Demolition Man? It's going to take, I would think, someone who is almost an exact clone of him to beat him. Because when you're going into the octagon with a guy that already has an 84.5-inch reach, very long legs, and knows how to utilize both of those tools to his disposal. Those elbows, just devastating. He used them against Gustafsson. He used them against Shogun. He pounded Chael Sonnen with them. And again, last night with Glover. Now we're looking at this. He's going to be facing Gus. We know that he's facing Gustafsson coming up. That's his next opponent. But after that, I mean, we're looking at what the picture could be afterwards. And this is the next part that we kind of want to transition to. The return of another guy who wants to throw his hat into the light heavyweight ring, Anthony Rumble Johnson, who had a successful return. He had a successful return last night. And defeating and really controlling a mouthy Phil Davis, who mouthed off for a good part of the week, not just about Rumble, but kind of just
the whole division.
The whole division, and most importantly, the King himself. But Rumble last night really wanting to stake his claim to climb that ladder, and a guy in Phil Davis who now has no credibility, and who's going to fall down the charts, and a guy Rumble who looked very impressive last night. Just talk a little bit about what you saw between the two of them. Rumble's effectiveness, how great he looked at 205, and Phil Davis just not being able to get anything going against him.
Nothing.
You're 100% right there, bud. And it's just a tale of two stories right there. Okay? Leading up to that fight, you had Phil Davis talking about how he's going to crumble John Jones like a sugar cookie,
Yeah, and did all that over the phone.
Right, and that's funny, and given Phil Davis's, sometimes less than exciting fighting style, good for him to get his name out in the press, get some interest drumming up just in case he won that fight. I mean, he was favored to win anyway, right?
He was.
But, it's clear that he was looking past Rumble, and in a pre-fight interview, I saw him say, there's only so many more places for me to go before I get that title shot. Well, coming off a fight against Machida, who's a middleweight now, that most people thought you lost anyway, that's not really your time to say that right now, And I think Davis just wasn't focused enough. He kind of thought he won that fight before he walked in the octagon, and that's just not something you can do against Rumble.
No, not a guy who's had 6 first-round finishes coming off a 6-fight win streak. All of them been stopped in the first round, and he hasn't been just patty caking with these guys. They've been going to sleep viciously.
Without a doubt, and that's the next part of the tale, right? Maybe that's the bigger part of the tale. And I have a feature piece on lowkickmma.com right now about this exact topic.
Exactly.
I think that by defeating Phil Davis, Rumble legitimately, finally, is starting to realize his full potential, which is massive overall.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. And he looked great last night.
Absolutely.
Many times they mentioned during the broadcast how at 205 he looked great. His problem in the past, why he left the UFC in the first place, is that he had problems making weight. And he said this time around, listen, I was immature. I was a knucklehead. No more knucklehead stuff for me. He's been doing great training with Rashad and the rest of the Black Zillions training camp. And he's a guy that was going to throw his hat in this ring. That he's going to have a say, I would say, before the next 18 months is over about this light heavyweight crown in the UFC.
Without a doubt. And I mean, he beat the number 4 guy coming in as number 14 on the return fight. Manny, like you said, a 6-fight win streak coming in, now 7. I think that Rumble looked amazing. Not just training with Rashad. Yes, that was a huge part because that's his close friend and training partner. But also Rashad was the only guy who had the true blueprint of how to shut down Phil Davis. He did it at UFC on Fox 2 a couple years ago.
Yeah,
exactly.
And that undoubtedly helped Rumble. But at the heart of the matter, you have Rumble training with Tyrone Spong,
yes,
great K1 and Glory kickboxer, before he broke his leg brutally.
Obviously. Oh, God, yes, I saw that. Jesus Christ.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
And it's just that Muay Thai that Spong brought to Rumble's game is just intense. I mean, because you saw him bringing up his outside elbow to block the hooks of Davis. You saw him slapping the jabs away like a Thai boxer would. And you saw his always, powerful head kicks. He was mixing up with knees, but also you can't take away credit of Rumble's wrestling because he just would not let Davis drag him down. He wouldn't
do
let
it.
him
Absolutely.
make that fight ugly.
Absolutely. And when you have a guy that was a two-time All-American, four-time All-American,
Four-time
All-American,
at
and
Penn
two-time national finalist in Phil Davis
Yep.
at Penn State.
National champion.
Exactly, and the national champion and Phil Davis. That is extremely important. We saw the evolution, I think, of Rumble and him starting to realize his potential. Moving, of course, and we're talking to Mike Drahota, from chief editor of LowKickMMA.com and also an editor on MMAmania.com. Mike, other performances we saw last night, Luke Rockhold with just inserting himself last night in this middleweight fight between him and Tim Boetsch, and just taking the inverted triangle into a Kimura for the submission. I mean, he locked this in early and really made a statement tonight. And this is a guy that Chael Sonnen has been raving about for a while on the UFC Tonight and also on the pre-fight show last night. I mean, this is just amazing. We have the clip up here on our screen, and just the inverted Kimura that he was able to inverted a triangle he was able to get into a Kimura lock. Really just asserting himself from the start.
Jeez.
But he's a guy that could have a say in the middleweight division. He already last night called out Vitor Belfort and said he has some personal business to carry out with Michael Bisping as well. But just your thoughts on his performance last night.
I think that Rockhold is in a similar position at middleweight that Rumble now is at light heavyweight, in a great bargaining spot for a title shot. A couple fights down the road, a couple more big wins.
Yeah.
And I think that Rockhold's jiu-jitsu looked amazing. We haven't really seen him go for a takedown or even attempt to be taken down in his two fights in the UFC against Belfort. Of course, that knockout of the year.
Yeah,
loss.
the spinning head kick.
And then Costa Philippou, that was all stand-up where he just nailed him with the liver kick, and that was over.
Yeah.
And that was smoking, and he built upon it last night.
Yeah, it was impressive, and I agree with that comparison you make between him and the Rumble. He's going to need some more matches, but this kid looked great last night.
Beautiful.
Also, Jim Miller tying a UFC record with his 32nd submission attempt, and this attempt was successful over Yancy Medeiros last night with a guillotine choke, where we were saying that Miller actually chanced to choked out Medeiros, and Herb Dean didn't know he was out.
Yeah, because he just looked up, and then you saw Jim had to look over Herb. He's out, right?
Yeah, like he's out. And he was, again, this is a guy that has made a living of getting some submissions, a tough guy that when he steps inside the octagon. At lightweight, I believe this was, he also stepped up in the ranks as far as his number of fights at the lightweight position. But impressive guillotine choke last night, and a guy who, of course, is tough as nails. That's his reputation in the octagon, really doing some work last night. And then another one that we saw, Benavidez, Joseph Benavidez, tapping out Tim Elliott with his feet. I mean, he had his arms tied up, and he couldn't tap. Elliott couldn't tap with his arms or with his hands. He had to use his feet. So two very good submissions we saw last night. And your thoughts on Miller and Benavidez, two guillotines, very interesting and unique guillotine chokes, and but two flyweights, really. One lightweight and one flyweight, putting in some big work. But great submissions. Just your thoughts on what you saw, especially with this the one with Benavidez. We talked last time about OSP and the Von Flue choke he had last pay-per-view.
I still want to learn that.
But Benavidez making Elliott tap out with his feet. I mean,
he made him beat his feet in the octagon. Shout out to DC for the first time you ever see somebody beat their feet inside the octagon in Maryland.
Exactly.
I agree, and I think that win is so impressive because Elliott really showed some great aggressive offensive wrestling in that fight. He was taking it to Benavidez, scrambling, looking to take his back.
Yeah.
But ultimately, that Team Alpha Male is known for their guillotine chokes. Really, their chokes overall, but their guillotines are just absolutely vicious. And, yeah, you have the guy flailing, tapping out with his feet. I mean, that was just, another surprise ending to just a prelim full of jaw-dropping fights.
Exactly, and a great fight.
I think that, yep, you're right. Sorry about that, Brian.
No, it's okay.
It was an awesome prelim card. One of the best we've ever seen, I think.
Yeah. And, the prelims can either do one of two things. They can get you ready for the main card or they can put you to sleep. And but it was a good crowd last night in Baltimore, more filled crowd around the prelims time than I've seen in a lot of other UFC pay-per-views. But it's going to set the tone for what should be a very exciting summer coming up. with mixed martial arts, particularly with the UFC. Again, we're with Mike Drahota, lowkickmma.com, chief editor and editor at MMAmania.com. Mike, just so you could drop your sites again, where people can find you on social media and your sites, and just how they can check out more content from you.
For sure, guys. You guys can check me out at lowkickmma.com, where I am the chief editor. It's a community that is based on the MMA fans. We have all your latest news, videos, interviews, exclusives, and more. We also have a great point-based fight pick system where you can pick the winner of each fight from the prelims on Fight Pass to the main card, and how the fighter's going to win and in what round, and it's scored based on how close you get to the actual outcome. And also, of course, MMAmania.com, one of your best sites out there with just a ton of content and has everything covered from top to bottom. I do fight previews the week of the fights and fight reviews the morning after every UFC card that takes place. And you can follow me on Twitter at Mike Drahota, Drahota. Thanks for listening, guys, and thanks for having me on again. It was a great card.
Yeah, definitely. And again, Mike, we want to have you on again a little bit more frequently. That's Mike Drahota of lowkickmma.com and MMAmania.com. I suggest to all of you, all you hardcore fight fans here listening to us, to go to lowkickmma.com and MMAmania.com. Mike does great work for previews, recaps, and everything in between. Mike, great talking to you, buddy. We'll talk to you again soon.
Hey, thanks a lot, Brian. And I just wanted to get one quick thing in about Miles Jury. You guys were talking about him in his fight with Trujillo coming up on June 28th in San Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
We got an exclusive interview with Miles Jury on lowkickmma.com coming out this week. So if you could check that out, we'd appreciate it. And we're looking forward to Fury's run here. He's got a tough matchup, but the kid's undefeated, and he's on fire.
Absolutely.
Nice. You heard it from the man himself. Exclusive with Miles Jury on lowkickmma.com. Make sure you check it out. Mike, again, thanks talking to you again, man. You've been great, man. We'll talk to you soon down the road.
Thank you so much, guys, and have a great night. Love the show.
All right, great. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah, man, that's Mike Drahota, lowkickmma.com, MMAmania.com. He does great work. He also talks with us after our UFC pay-per-views and great events. We're going to take a break coming up, and then we're going to recap a little bit more about the UFC 172 card and, of course, news over the last 2 weeks before we head things home for the evening. Once again, it's your boy Lesson with Manny Z. We're at DMVCS in the Clinch. LessonVisionLive.com. We'll be right back, y'all.
It's like some niggas pop mollies, smoke weed, you drink liquor to get high. Yeah, I just stay high off life, you know? Check me out. Yo, I gotta do it big, cause I can't live this life twice. Say what you want, I stay overdose on life. Yo, I gotta do it big, cause I can't live this life twice. Say what you want, I stay overdose on life. I stay overdose on life. Damn, what the hell I'm thinking? I'm sitting behind that wheel and I can't stop drinking. The Patron in my system, it got me gone as fuck. Damn, I hope I don't hit them. And all I see is purple rain. The girl riding next to me, all she do is fucking complain. Always judging me on how I bottle my pain. If you seen the shit I've been through, then you would do the same. But it's all good. Shit, like you keeping me on the high. I do this shit all again as long as I don't die. Let me enjoy every moment to occupy my mind. You can judge if you want, I'm just having a good time. Turn up, like I'm on the come up. I'm fucking up my liver like I ain't even the owner. Riding around my city doing parking lot donuts. Living life like the fuck I wanna. You feel me? Yo, I gotta do it big, cause I can't live this life twice. Say what you want, I stay overdose on life. I stay overdose on life. Yo, I gotta do it big, cause I can't live this life twice. Say what you want, I stay overdose on life. I stay overdose on life.
Yo, I just had another dream. I was falling out the sky in the world with a stain. Them things aren't always what they seem, but the patterns keep forming, so I wonder what they mean. We all go through the motions, swaying in the breeze, thoughts rumble like the ocean. Life is narcotics and our feelings are the potion. Catch a hangover if you deep in your emotions. emotions. It's the heavy dosage. Constantly we going overload. One too many, maybe not, while we falling overboard. High as a kite off life, intoxicated off existence, persistence with that dynamite. Rehabs the plans, death that you speak not. Chronic living like I'm Dr. Dre, no detox. Getting drunk off the hating and I'm wasted off the love. That's why I'm sweating off the drama while you wonder what it does.
Yo, I gotta do it big, cause I can't live this life twice. Say what you want, I stay overdose on life. Stay overdose on life. Yo, I gotta do it big, cause I can't live this life twice. Say what you want, I stay overdose on life. I stay overdose on life. Yo, I gotta do it big. Yo, I gotta do it big. Can't live this life twice. Can't live this life twice. Say what you want, I stay overdose on life.
Yo, what up? DMV, we are back.
We are live.
In the building. DMVCS and the Clinch. We are back here. Of course, big thanks once again to our buddy Mike Drahota at lowkickmma.com and mmamania.com. Go check out his websites. He has great content on there for all things combat sports. We were talking about the UFC 172 card and, just talking about, of course, the dominance of John Jones. But then we wanted to talk a little bit more about some of the other performances that we didn't really talk about. As I mentioned, the fight that opened the whole card was a highlight knockout as well. A bantamweight battle between Chris Beal and Patrick Williams, and Chris Beal winning that with a flying knee in the second round, 151 remaining. And that flying knee, when we saw it, I mean, it looked like literally something out of a video game. Like
yeah,
we said,
he either looked like a Don or he looked like Sagat. I mean, I couldn't tell. Either it was Jaguar knee or it was Tiger knee. I couldn't tell the difference.
I was the Tiger. That was it. Tiger.
He was gone.
And then he was out. And that was a spectacular knockout right there. Chris, again, Beal won performance of the night last night for that knockout, but he had some competition. Danny Castillo, lightweight bout between Danny Castillo and Charlie Brenneman. Brenneman asserting control of the fight in the first round on the ground, taking the fight down, a lot of good ground and pound. But Castillo, in the second round, with a punch that can only be explained by me as him actually, like you hear the phrase push a button on a guy.
Yeah.
He literally pushed a button on Charlie Brenneman. It looked like Brenneman was a robot, and Castillo had literally took the off switch and powered him down. That's what it looked like. Like he powered him down. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? When you just kept saying that on the button. I mean, right in that sweet spot on the left side of the face, right between the cheek and.
Well, I told you when you called me about that. I say there was no ping, no pow, no boom, no bang, no zip, no value.
It was just power down. Like you pushed the button on your computer when you wanted to go off, or you turned the switch off on the light when you wanted to turn off. It was a kill switch hit last night, and Castillo with a big knockout victory over Brenneman last night. That was just huge. And then, of course, we talked about Benavidez with tapping out Elliott with his feet.
He made him beat his feet inside the octagon, son. I never seen that before.
And then also another fight that we saw last night.
There's the knee. Jaguar knee.
Yeah. I mean, it was just like, wow.
Jeez, right in the eye socket.
Yeah, and I mean, just put the button out on Patrick Williams. But another fight that we saw last night, of course, was Takanori Gomi defeating Isaac Valley Flag.
And that was a war.
And that was a war last night. A very close fight, as close as you can get for a unanimous decision. For a decision without it being a split decision. 29-28, 29-28, 29-28. Gomi, MMA veteran, notching yet another victory. Fight of the night last night. That was the bonus that he got. And that deservedly was one of the more back and forth fights that we saw that wasn't spectacular by a knockout or in its domination. So good performances last night. Each one of those guys walk away with a little bit of extra cash in their pocket. And cash is never a bad thing. It's never a bad thing. We've missed a lot of stuff over the last couple of weeks, man. A lot of stuff has happened in the MMA world where we've missed in the last 2 weeks, including two very good heavyweight bouts within the UFC. First up was the UFC Fight Night in Dubai. Was Roy Nelson's huge KO of Big Nog.
Jeez.
At Dubai. a blow that not only injured Big Nog's face, but also injured Roy Nelson's hand.
Yeah, he broke his hand, knocking him out.
So you know that you put some fire behind what you got, and not only that, but you hitting a legendary granite-chinned, steel-head person in Nogueira. And Roy Nelson broke his hand, knocking him out.
Well, I knew Nogueira's chin wasn't legendary anymore after Frank Mir knocked him out the first time. And then when he got knocked out by Cain Velasquez, I was just like, he needs to hang it up. And, of course, I went a shot at Frank Mir again, which we saw was what Dana White described was submission of the century, with his arm getting shattered into like blood sport.
Yeah.
And then he fights Roy Nelson and gets put to sleep.
Yeah, he does. And for on one end with Roy Nelson, this was a guy that, again, we saw some up and downs from him. He took a fight on short notice and against I'm blanking on who right now, but
Stipe Miocic.
Yes, Stipe Miocic, and he didn't do much. But we see a guy, one, that was a submission expert, but again has knockout power. This is him throwing his hat into the heavyweight ring once again. He'll be in the conversation hopefully once everything gets sorted out between these next couple of heavyweight bouts. We'll see what happens. But to me, I have to ask you this, man. Do you think this is it for Big Nog? I think
it was done for Big Nog for me, like I said, 5 fights ago after Velasquez beat him before Cain won the title. So it was just like, I don't want to disrespect Big Nog like that on the air because I respect what he did and pride of him being a Pride legend. I just don't want to see him keep getting beat up anymore.
Yeah, well, much respect to Big Nog. And you know what? Roy Nelson said something in the post-fight interview. Said that, listen, this is the reason why we even have heavyweights today. Like this guy right here.
Yeah, it is.
And before heavyweights were even considered a pure weight class in the UFC, he's the one who really pioneered to help, that to be one of the first dominant heavyweights, him along with Fedor and Mirko Krokop and Randy Couture, guys who became heavyweights and made this heavyweight division actually something tangible with the mixed martial arts. All respect, because we know he's one of the great all MMA all-time greats.
Absolutely.
But I think it's time for him to hang it up.
Absolutely. I mean, the guy's a former Pride heavyweight champion and former UFC interim heavyweight champion. So I'm not going to disrespect his legacy. I just think he doesn't have anything left.
I think it may be time for him to hang it up.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, on the other side of the spectrum, last week with UFC on Fox, Fabricio Werdum in a very, very impressive outing against Travis Brown, a destruction over 5 rounds where he threw everything that he had right at Travis Brown.
Except for the kitchen sink.
And this is a guy, again, who has had some very notable knockouts in his career. Knocked out Alistair Overeem. And stopped his
and destroyed Josh Barnett.
Exactly.
George Barnett, yeah,
exactly. And here against Travis Brown, this is another guy that I think that a lot of fight fans don't talk enough about is Fabricio and him stepping into this into the ring for a heavyweight shot. But I mean. Here, impressive and very impressive against.
Jeez, look at that!
Just blow after blow after blow. He was impressive. I liked what I saw out of him.
Yeah, I mean, he just controlled the distance, and that's why I'm like, the fight fans really didn't understand. I'm like, Fabricio Werdum is the same guy who destroyed the myth of Fedor Emelianenko.
Yeah, exactly.
He tapped this guy out in front of the world.
Yeah, some big wins that he's had against some really marquee names. And we look at him and Roy Nelson, Big Country, and Fabricio, 2 guys that may be sitting there long after Cain is still standing, and JDS has lobbied for yet another shot once again. For
JDS does not want no more, man.
Yeah.
After what happened in the last fight, I mean, just his face looked like taco meat. He don't want no more.
Yeah,
he don't want no more.
But they're 2 guys heavy in the heavyweight division to keep your eye on. So we missed a lot on that, and those 2 fights that we saw, big heavy hitters right there, as you see Fabricio putting in work. If you're watching us on listenvisionlive.com.
God, look at that. I mean, those aren't love taps, folks.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Look at this impact right here. Boom! Yeah. Almost punched his beard right off of him.
Yeah, and just the guy put in work last night, man. He impressed. So we'll see what happens with the heavyweight division. I'm going to be interested to see if someone can emerge to give Cain a legitimate challenge for his crown.
I don't know if there's anybody left.
Yeah, man. So, and of course, the last show you guys saw us with, we were doing the live look-ins at WrestleMania 30. Things that we have not touched on, of course. Daniel Bryan winning the WWE Championship.
Amazing.
And then probably the most improbable news from WrestleMania, of course, is The Undertaker's loss to Brock Lesnar.
But again, that was because Undertaker suffered a concussion and told them to end the match. That's what the fans didn't know.
Yeah.
Because he had to stay in the hospital for 2 days.
Yeah, I mean, And you want to talk about the people being shocked? I mean,
the world just stopped. The world just stopped, and you saw everybody's expression in the arena was like,
including that one guy that everybody's seen with the
he's in our wrestling group on Facebook. Yeah, that's all.
Shout out to DMV Wrestling. Yeah. DMV Wrestling fans.
Shout out to the
Facebook.
DMV Wrestling fans
on Facebook, man. Yeah, but it was shocking. A big event. A lot of people were not expecting that. They were expecting the streak to continue, but it's over. And I think at some point in time it needed to end, and it ended. And then, of course, with the very shocking news, the day after he appeared on Monday Night Raw, and 3 days after he had been inducted in WWE Hall of Fame, the Ultimate Warrior passing away.
Yes. Rest in peace to James Bryan Hellwig, the Ultimate Warrior, for what he did for me as a wrestling fan and all the wrestling fans around the world.
Yeah, and that was shocking because we had just seen him on Raw the night before.
It just saw him.
In full Warrior character and everything.
Everything. Had the coat, the face paint, everything. And then when ABC News said it that night, that he was with his wife, he just collapsed and never woke up.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of this now. And this is now the Ultimate Warrior being now a number of different pro wrestlers that we've seen die in the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, we lost Macho Man. We lost him. Just the plethora of Hall of Famers over the time in the sport for which we've lost. Titans and icons of our business.
Yeah, that
have come and gone.
Yeah, so rest in peace to the Ultimate Warrior. Lots of memories that he gave all of us. And was he the most spectacular guy? And he had a very short run as compared to a lot of the people in the wrestling business. But
absolutely,
his run was iconic. It was cult-like, and it was memorable, to say the very least.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
the Survivor Series, along with him, Macho Man, and Hogan as the Mega Maniacs, to him winning, the title while being Intercontinental Champion, beating Hogan. Like he said, I was a 30-year-old kid when I wrestled Hulk at WrestleMania 6.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's that, and that's the business. But look, hey, we do this every Sunday night, as you know. This is DMVCS in the Clinch. Make sure you guys are following us on Twitter at DMVCS, on Instagram at DMVCS, the number 2. Facebook, DMVCS Radio, and DMVCS Combat Sets on Google Plus and on YouTube. That's where we post all of our show clips. But it's come to end to another week. We are glad to be back in here. We've had a great show. Thanks once again to Mike Drahota of LowKickMMA.com and MMAmania.com. Of course, thanks as always to our engineer and our driver manning the spaceship and on the controls and the wheels of steel, DJ Jordan K. Always putting it down for us every Sunday night. We appreciate it, my man, and we appreciate all of you tuning in. Make sure you're following us on Twitter, email us, Facebook us, Instagram us. We love to hear from our listeners and our followers and our viewers. We want to make sure that we're giving you the best show that we possibly can, everything about combat sports. So we are going to cut out of here for this week, guys. Of course, we'll be back next week with the full new week of combat sports. It's your boy Lesson, Manny Z. We on WLVS Radio and ListenVisionLive.com. We are out. See you next week, 8 o'clock.
We out.
This game, your time. Is it now? Insane. This game for the crown. Is it now? Stakes high, put it down. This game, your time, put it down. Let's go. Welcome to the game. Now here's your starting lineup. Brought to you by E-Dub, official with the sign up. Having 40 minutes pressure, Arkansas to Pine Bluff. Little Rocks with gangs bang until they fucking time's up. Fire like it's pre-game pyro. Ready off this hype and I'm high off hydro. Once the clock starts, then it's on to the minute. Ballin' like LeBron off the palm till I'm finished in it. Until the last second is spent. And I'ma play the point till you niggas forfeit or quit or offer to split. Critics talking shit like it's hands up and man down. I'm at the 50 with chin strapped to stand ground. Game time on my pulse racing like stock cars. 200 laps and I'm checking flag like a rock star. And give a damn what your thoughts are. W's counting them out, checking the bank like Bart Star. Are you in to win or just another pawn? I'ma keep it breaking hard till the break of dawn. Till the break of dawn. Counts low, stakes high till the break of dawn. Are you in to win or just another pawn? I'ma keep it breaking hard till the break of dawn. Till the break of dawn. Counts low, stakes high till the break of dawn. You hear the clap, get a round of applause. Fools shouting out their name to hear the sound of their cars. You ain't making any calls on the yard. The only cause you had is to press pause and make a call to your squad. I ain't never been at grips with the law. The only grip that I had is my 5 fingers, that's my fist to your jaw. Me and Dale's take a trip from the bricks to the shore. Flip the switch, Took the sticks, I get lifted for sure. Only want what we came for. Rolling through PG, we're down for the main course. So we take DC in the loop with the same force. Find us live at the barbecue like we made sauce. Insane boss, I'm talking riches in the millions. Stack it to the ceiling in the office, right in our own building. Stakes high, what's the call? Mission critical condition. The miss niggas with napalm. Are you in to win or just another pawn? I'ma keep it cranking hard till the break of dawn. Till the break of dawn. Count slow, stakes high till the break of dawn. Are you in to win or just another pawn? I'ma keep it cranking hard till the break of dawn. Till the break of dawn. Count slow, stakes high till the break of dawn. But when the pressure's on, the clock's running down. You gonna take a shot or act like a clown. Probably the ladder, you crumble under the crown. Don't give me dap a pound unless you holding it down. We major league, you niggas is minor fam. Riding the bus, bearing like Jordan in Birmingham. Wearing that 45, who's faking that sporty line. Tight tees with your jeans and you niggas ignore the size. I'm borderline obsessive with music that's hip hop. Overdrive and protective, the game's like a thrift shop. Give me a minute, I have my squad at the top. Armed, ready and willing to fire up on the spot. Going hard in the paint, I'm hard in the whole court. Vision like Irvin Johnson is magic of some sort. East way is an army, better get like a force. Pass it, give us the torch, you bitches up off the porch. Are you in to win or just another pawn? I'ma keep it cranking hard till the break of dawn. Till the break of dawn. Count slow, stakes high till the break of dawn. Are you in to win or just another pawn? I'ma keep it cranking hard till the break of dawn. Till the break of dawn. Count slow, stakes high till the break of dawn. Are you in to win or just another pawn? I'ma keep it cranking hard till the break of dawn. Till the break of dawn. Count slow, stakes high till the break of dawn. Are you in to win or just another pawn? I'ma keep it cranking hard till the break of dawn. Till the break of dawn. Count slow, stakes high till the break of dawn. Are you in to win or just another pawn? I'ma keep it cranking hard till the break of dawn. Till the break of dawn. Count slow, stakes high till the break of dawn. Are you in to win or just another pawn?